What is up, YouTube? It is Dark Beauty 9825 coming to you live, and today I have a video to add to my nursing section of my channel. And basically, I'm just going to be talking about my CNA clinical experience. And also, just as a warning, I'm sorry if I talk too fast in this video, but when I'm storytelling, I tend to talk faster than normal, or people realize that I'm talking fast. So sorry about that. But I do have notes on my phone, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. And I kind of just made the notes so that I can stay on track and not like be all rambling everywhere and then make this video like 30 minutes long. So I know this will probably be kind of a long video, but I'm going to try to make it as short as possible, but also being kind of detailed. So just bear with me. Also, as a disclaimer, I will not be naming the names of my patients, of course, the facility that I was at, nor the school program that I was at, only for privacy reasons and because I don't want to bash any facility or school, because not everything, well, I mean, I'll try to make it as positive as possible, but just in case I say something that's kind of in a negative connotation to that certain program, I don't want it to get out there or whatever. So I'm going to start off by explaining my first day. So basically my first day was not what our first day, because it was a group of 9 students. So the first day was really not what we expected to be. So of course our hearts was racing the night before, even weeks before, just because we knew that we were actually about to work with real people instead of mannequins. So that is kind of heart racing, especially when it's your first time in that setting. So we were expecting to go right in there, for them to just put us in there and do what we were taught, like we were told that clinicals was, which really that is what it is to, you know, hands-on practice. But we didn't make the criteria for the 8-to-1 ratio, because you have to have 8 students to 1 instructor, and since we had 9 people, we had just missed that mark. And since there weren't 2 instructors on the first day, we literally couldn't even touch the patients that day, because of that rule. So we had to wait all the way until the second day of clinicals, which our clinicals were spread like a week apart. We had 3 clinicals, all of them on Saturdays from 7 to 4. Yeah, the first day wasn't what we thought it was going to be. Actually, all we did the first day was be more considered like the business side of things. So we learned all about like uh the computer stuff, people's like private stuff, just stuff like that. We mostly had like 3 meetings that day, whether it was a meeting with our instructor, the meeting with like the head of the hospital, or just the meeting with other nurses or whatever. So the first day just went kind of like that. Definitely not what I expected. And then because we couldn't like touch the patients or anything, because we didn't meet that certain ratio criteria, they just gave us like a scavenger hunt, which that was really useful, because then once we went in the next day, it's not like we'll have to be scrambling and have to keep asking the nurses that worked in that facility where stuff was. So basically you could have a partner or you could be in a group, it didn't matter, and then y'all just went around the facility. So not only did it help us get familiar with where like different rooms were, but also where the things were inside of those rooms. So we had to look for stuff like toothbrushes, gloves, towels, briefs, just stuff like that. So that was really what our first day consisted of. Fast forwarding to the second day of clinicals, we got this agenda, and I was so happy because I literally thought they were just gonna throw you in there and you were supposed to know like step by step what to do from morning until afternoon, which they did teach us that, but I was still kind of nervous actually doing it, and I just not trusting myself really. So I was happy that we got an agenda, and the agenda literally told us like each step to do from 7 to 4, which is the time that we were at the clinicals. So I was very happy about that. So it would tell you like what, like the steps, like when to wake them up, when to do their morning routine to prepare them to eat, when to serve them their food, when they should be done with their food. So it was really step by step like that, and I was so happy. And you didn't have to use it. Of course you can do like whatever you wanted to with your patient, of course, if it's in the rules, or like in whichever order you wanted to, but that was like what we really stuck to, because that's what made the most sense. So I was so happy that we had got an agenda for that. So patients, each person were assigned up to 2 to 3 patients depending on the type of patient that they were. Like if one was like on hospice, which means like they were almost ready to like go or whatever, you were assigned like 3 patients, because you barely had to do anything because they were kind of just laying there hooked to a machine or whatever. So depending on who who your patients were. You got either 2 to 3. So I just got 2, and both of my patients were females, and both of my patients were responsive as well. So I was kind of happy that I was kind of happy that I got 2 responsive people, and it wasn't hard communicating with them. Um so yeah, I know I was very nervous. Oh, and they were in the same room. I know I was very nervous on the second day, because the second day is where we actually were interacting with our patients and actually caring for them. And I was just remember, like, my heart racing so bad introducing myself, like I was going to see a celebrity or something. It was just like, I guess I just had this feeling like, now you know the face of who is going to be taking care of you, and if I mess up, like, you legit know my face. You will remember me, like you are trusting me to be in your care. So, what I was also happy about is that my both of my patients were very inviting. So they were like, I'm happy on the path you are on, and saying that they will work with me basically. So yeah, I was kind of happy about that. At least one of them was. It was another one, because we had patients A and patient B. So like patient A was the one that was, proud that I was actually going through this and was going to help me along, whatever. And then patient B, although she was responsive, she wasn't really that like much into communicating or conversing. So yeah, that was that. So both of my patients kind of had, I was happy because they were kind of the same. Like, their diet restrictions were like they barely had any, so I didn't really have to like cut up stuff a lot. I know some stuff I did, but most of them like the same thing. I know one of my patient B, I remember it's so funny. She was so stuck on getting this certain type of cereal, and that facility did not have it, and I felt so bad, and I was getting myself worked up. And then the other nurses was like, just don't worry about it. Like, she asks for that all the time. We have to tell her all the time that we don't have it. But me, I'm just like, no, let's get her what she wants. Like, so I just remember that being so funny, because I was really freaking out. Well, it's funny now that I'm looking back at how I was. But right then I was freaking out, because I'm like, she's like going to hate me and she's gonna bite me because I'm not able to get her cereal. So I was really just freaking out. So each patient, of course, had their certain stuff logged into the computer. So we got our own username and passwords, because we are in a real setting. This is actually people's lives, so their stuff had to keep private, even from our other classmates. So it was kind of cool being in that setting and actually typing the information, telling how much either patient A or patient B drunk. So if they drunk 75% of it, 50% of it, how much of their food they ate. So it was just, that's when it started to be like, oh my gosh, this is real. When I was actually sitting like behind the desk or at these like little kiosk places and actually typing in information for my patient, I think that's when it really hit me. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the other staff there, and I was just so happy that the other staff were like very nice, and they didn't like bash you for like not knowing how to do anything. They were more helpful than anything, cuz I know going in there some of us kind of assume, cuz like you hear from a lot of people, nurses give CNAs the dirty work, like the wiping, booty work, and all that stuff. So of course we kind of, not, I wouldn't really say we had a bad view of nurses, but we weren't really sure what to expect. So once they were being nice to us, it was just kind of like a lift. It was just like this weight lifted off of our shoulders, because we know that they were on our side instead of against us, or just like using us. So I was pretty happy about that. So the next thing that I was going to talk about is the last day of clinicals. Now, since we did miss the first day, the last day was technically our second day of doing anything. Or did we go 4 times? Whatever the last day was, it was like our second or third time actually doing something, but I did feel more comfortable by that last day, only because we did have a 7 to 4 shift, so that was a lot of time for that first day. And really the last day we just had like a consultation at the end, basically talking about our overall experience and stuff like that. And my overall experience personally was that I just feel like I learned myself in that field more. Like, I knew coming in that I wasn't really interested in geriatrics, and even though I knew that I wasn't interested in geriatrics, that didn't mean that I went into my clinicals not open minded. Like, I went in very open minded. I was very nice to my patients. I like took care of them as if that was my passion, but I like my heart knew it wasn't. So there was just I just know in clinicals convinced me even more that geriatrics is not the field for me, and that's okay. Like, that's part, along with learning and having that direct care with the patient. That's clinicals are also like finding yourself, so you know your strengths and weaknesses. And I know my weakness is working with, not, I don't want to say working with elderly people, but some of the steps that it takes in caring for elderly people. I know my strengths and weaknesses now. I know what I can and can't handle. So different stuff like that. So yeah, that was really just my overall experience. The last day our teacher brought in like candy for us, stuff that has to do with nursing, like notepads, little I forgot, it was something that you can like put in your pocket when you have your scrubs. It was this pen that's looks like in like an injection needle. It kind of has like the blood in it. I have it somewhere in my room. I had it in one of my thumbnails for my scrubs collection video. You can kind of see it at the bottom. And she just gave us a lot of gifts, and not only us but also the staff, because they were very helpful as well. So the last day was really fun, and it was bittersweet because although you do have that nervous feeling every time you are taking care of a patient or every time that you have clinicals, you still were just happy to actually be taking a very big step towards your goal, because most of us in our class wanted to be nurses. So that was fun, and my overall experience was I really did like it. I think it was kind of a little bit shady in the end because I wasn't really confident in my instructors, because we even had a switch of instructors. Like, we had one for like 4 weeks, and then we switched in the fourth week, and it just kind of confused because they had different teaching styles and different attitudes. So I was not really confident at first in that I was being taught correctly, but I mean, I once I went to clinicals and we built a bond with that second teacher, it got to flowing nice, and I think I'm pretty good. Also, just to let you know that I did only take the class. Although it was like CNA clinicals, I am not certified. I'm not a certified nursing assistant yet, but it's something as easy as just take not easy, the test isn't easy, but it's that simple step of just taking the test and taking the skills part of it is the only thing that I have to do. So I really need to get to that, but I mean, I think even this channel will kind of inspire me to keep it moving, because then me exciting news to tell you all. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Click the bell so you can receive notifications for any time that I post. I always say bell, but really the bell is probably like down here somewhere. So yes, thank you so much. It is Dark Beauty 9825 signing out of this live. Bye.